Good evening, everyone. It is 6:40. Welcome. Welcome to the City Council, Calexico Community Redevelopment Agency, Successor Agency, Calexico Financing Authority, regular meeting, December 18th, 2012. Considering that we had a huge loss in the city of Newton, Connecticut, the children and adults that were lost in that tragedy at the Sandy Hook Elementary School, I believe that it's appropriate at this time to ask for a moment of silence. Thank you very much. We'll start off with the attorney's report, please.
Thank you, Mayor. The council met in closed session and discussed item A as listed on the closed session agenda. Direction was given, no reportable action was taken. Thank you.
Okay, City Clerk, please take note of the attendance today. All are here. We're going to start off today's agenda with a little invocation. I believe that our council member, Mr. John Moreno, would like to do that. Maybe if we wait just a little for the kids to walk in, and we'll start. Okay.
Will you bow your heads and pray? Heavenly Father, let me say thank you on behalf of all who are gathered here today. Thank you for your many and abundant blessings. Thank you for life itself, for the measure of health we need to fulfill our callings, for sustenance and for friendship. Thank you for the ability to be involved in useful work and for the honor of bearing appropriate responsibilities. In the scriptures, you've said that citizens ought to obey the governing authorities since you've established those very authorities to promote peace and order and justice. Therefore, I pray for our mayor, for the various levels of city officials, and in particular for this assembled council. I'm asking that you would graciously grant them wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues of our times, a sense of the welfare and true needs of our people, a keen thirst for justice and rightness, confidence in what is good and fitting, the ability to work together in harmony even when there is honest disagreement, personal peace in their lives and joy in their task. I pray for the agenda set before them today. Please give an assurance of what you would please you and what would benefit those who live and work in and around our beloved city of Calexico. We thank you very much. In your most blessed name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much, John. We will continue now with the Pledge of Allegiance. And if Mr. Jaime Jimenez could lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Thank you, Mr. Jimenez. Okay, I need an approval of the agenda.
I'll move. Second.
Thank you. We have
Discussion.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Kim.
Well, the agenda is supposed to be approved by all the council members. And what happens, I don't know who pulled out. They pulled out the council comment after public comment. And they have a closing comment time, and they have a section before the adjournment, they have a future agenda requested. It's all been removed. And I'd like to put this one back into the agenda.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kim. We have a first and a second. Okay, we do have all names now up on the board. So if you would please vote. Thank you. 5-1. Okay, we're going to start off with the presentations. We have our first presentation by Mr. Jim Sanders for the Joint Powers venture on the pool. The city of Calexico, together with the Calexico Unified School District, joint venture to rebuild our pool that we lost in the 2010 earthquake. Right, Mr. Sanders?
Mr. Hurtado, I excuse myself for the conservative conflict of interest.
Thank you, Mr. Kim. We will call you when we're done, which should be in about 3 minutes.
I'm going to put them back.
Thank you for the opportunity tonight to present the scope of work for the proposed Margarita de Necochea swimming pool complex for the to replace the existing pool facility at Calexico High School that we all know was closed due to the earthquake damages. What we'd like to present here tonight is the scope of that project, and so first thing we'd like to show you is the site plan and the dimensions and layout of the swimming pool. So if you could, this section here is a portion of the existing high school site plan. Here are your existing tennis courts, and currently this is the location of your existing pool. So we're proposing that the existing pool would be removed, and the existing supporting pool facility, shower and locker facility, that would also be removed from the site. And the reason that we've done that is to try to preserve the fields that are over here to the west of the pool for practice fields, Pop Warner, that type of thing. It was originally proposed that we were going to build on the west side of the pool, but we were going to encroach too far into those fields. So we're going to move the proposed new pools up tight to those tennis courts and try to save as much of that existing facility or of the existing fields as possible. The pools, we're proposing 2 pools. One is an 8-lane competition pool shown over here, and this is a section of the pool here. And so when we say a competition pool, meaning that it has the proper depth in order to hold a CIF match and meeting all the minimum requirements for a CIF swimming competition. The pool is 75 feet in length and 68 feet in width in order to get the 8 lanes across in this direction. So the swimming lanes go in this direction, and then this smaller pool here is a rec pool, or what's referred to as a kiddie pool. That pool would include at each end, so this end here and this end here, or these ends would be approximately 3 feet deep, and then in the middle would be 4 feet deep, and in the middle it would support a volleyball net, and then on the sides of the pool you have the basketball standards so that you can play many types of pool activities, summer rec programs, community programs. One of the features of the project that was requested was that there'd be several shade structures to support both the high school programs and the community programs. So these orange structures here, those represent shade structures. This structure here is shown in a section here, so that in the event that there's a swim meet, and the timers are at the ends of the pools, and they're having to stand in the sun all day. We've provided a shade structure that projects out over the edge of the pool so that the timers and the swimmers in the heat of the day would be able to be in the shade. In addition, there are several other smaller shade structures to support providing shade for community members and the bathers. In this area here, that's the proposed bleacher area, which is shown here, and then that also has a shade over it. There's also a substantial green area around the pool. There's a new sidewalk that's proposed off of Belcher Street here that will connect the high school to the south end of the community, so students wanting to access the school from the south end would be able to walk along this new sidewalk here, and this would be the west limits of the proposed pool facility. Okay, the next slide here shows the supporting shower and locker classroom building, and this facility is this, or the floor plan that I'm going to show you is this structure here, located on the west side of the pools. So we have a standard shower and locker facility. We've kept the showers to a minimum. The showers, both boys' showers and girls' showers or locker rooms support both summer rec programs and swim team programs. There were public toilet areas. There are exterior lockers, exterior showers, and then in addition, there are also 2 oversized classrooms shown here that the school would be able to use, of course, during school hours, and those could also possibly be used for summer rec programs with a joint use facility.
Is that got a wall in between that's removable?
That's correct. That's a removable wall, so that they'd be able to close that and have 2 separate rooms or 1 large room in the event that you wanted to provide a joint use facility for a special program or a weekend event. That concludes our presentation on the scope of our pool project.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. I know that we've been working closely with you, the city. When former Mayor Romero was here, it was myself and Mr. Romero on the subcommittee that this council selected to work with the subcommittee belonging to the school district. And all of these details, well, we are very aware as a subcommittee, but I'm so glad you're here. We have a great crowd to understand where we're at right now. I guess right now I can ask if there's any questions from the council for Mr. Sanders.
When do you think construction will start?
Well, we will be ready for construction in 4 months from now. So we will have our DSA approved plans, and so we will have the ability to go to construction in 4 months from now. It's my understanding that there are several different elements on the funding side that need to all come together in order to start that project. There's been discussions about doing it in phases,
Right.
possibly. So that's still open. One of the significant milestones that we need to reach as soon as possible, and that is to obtain that state approval, because the money that we can obtain from the state for the project is contingent on having those state-approved plans. So we need to get that in place in order to be eligible for that money.
And so DSA being State Architecture?
Yeah, I'm sorry, a division of the state architecture.
Okay,
Right.
and 4 months from now would be April,
Correct.
maybe April 10th, we could start construction. That was the anniversary of the earthquake.
That would be nice.
And once the construction is commenced, would that leave a year, maybe 18 months before the completion of this?
Well, the actual pool itself could be completed in 6 months.
Okay.
But the supporting structure, that would take up to a year, but no more than a year.
Okay, so from April 13 to maybe April 14, and then probably being used in June of 2014.
Correct.
That sounds pretty good,
Correct.
if everything goes well.
Correct.
Okay.
That would be a good plan, yes.
But I
right.
believe that there's a really important detail. Isn't this, the idea is also to have the possibility of solar heating installed so that it could be used year-round?
Correct, yes. Part of the project includes providing the infrastructure so that it can be heated with solar.
Right.
Yes.
Mr. Hodge, do you have any questions?
No, I'm happy to see that we're moving forward. You said that some things need to gel with the funding. Do you have any details on that, sir, or are you just?
Mr. Rodriguez?
Can I take it, Jimmy? We have some housekeeping things to do, such as we need to formulate the JPA. We each have a sample now of a JPA, so beginning of next year, we need to get together with the district and form the JPA, and then also identify the different funding sources and how the funding sources are going to come together. There's a shortfall at this point, so we have to decide how we're going to cover that shortfall. So those are some items that we need to address within the coming 2 to 3 months, so that we would be in a position so that once the plans are ready to go out to bid in April. Is that what you're talking about?
That's correct.
Okay, so that when they're ready to go out to bid, we're finalizing all the documentation that needs to be in place.
Thank you.
And then today we'll be appointing a new member of the subcommittee to continue working. Okay, no, do you have any questions with regard to the bill? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sanders. Thank you very, very much. Our next presentation is by Mr. Carlton Hargrave regarding the ad hoc committee for the Port of Entry.
Good evening, members of the City Council and public. Tonight, I'd like to give just a brief overview of the ad hoc committee of the Chamber of Commerce and where they stand on the issue of the public-private partnership that's proposed for the financing of the Port of Entry. And just for those who may not know what the ad hoc committee is, the ad hoc committee was a committee that was formed about 8 years ago with the community members basically in frustration as to what was happening with the Port of Entry. And it was a group of citizens that met, and we got together to see what we could do as a community to facilitate some improvements in the Port of Entry. We've been operating as just a committee at large in the city for a number of years, and 2 years ago, the committee was incorporated into the Chamber of Commerce, and so now it is a part of our Chamber of Commerce. For the past 8 years, the General Services Administration has been planning for the reconstruction of the Calexico Port of Entry. There was much community input in this plan. This plan would almost double the capacity of the port, both northbound and southbound, going into Mexico, coming out of Mexico. To date, the General Services Administration, which is the construction entity of our federal government, has spent over $24 million in the design, environmental clearances, and right-of-way acquisitions of that port of entry. Unfortunately, in 2011, just prior to funding the first phase of this reconstruction, that line item was eliminated from our federal budget in the 11th hour. We were really expecting to go under construction, and in the 11th hour when the budget was presented to Congress, that funding mechanism was withdrawn from the budget, and therefore we were not able to start. Unfortunately, we have been told by our federal representatives that it does not look like we are going to be getting that funding anytime soon with the state of our federal budget. The funding for the Calexico Port of Entry and all of our port of entries, there's not a high priority seemingly this time in our federal budgets. The last report we got, the possibility would be 2016, maybe 2017, before we would even get the first phase funded, and that's even iffy then. Last fall, a consortium of private investors approached the city and the county with a proposal to create a private funding mechanism called a public-private partnership that would enable the funding of the port of entry. This has been going through and being considered. This is a type of lease purchase agreement common upon private sector, and it has even worked in other departments of the federal government. What this proposal is doing is it's having private money come together with the governmental entities involved, such as the city and the county, and go out to the private sector and borrow the money. It seems as though that this is probably the best option for us to be able to get the port of entry reconstructed at this time. Currently, the current estimate was $332 million, with $87 million coming in the first phase. And we would have to go back to Congress in each additional phase for the additional funding, which would take us back to Congress about 4 times for funding. And that's a cumbersome task. So what has happened is that one of the private investor group, Kenzo Newcomb and Didios, has approached the county and the city and the private industry, private entities, and asked if they would be interested in forming a public-private partnership to pursue raising the money privately to complete this reconstruction of the port. And that's where we are now. Now, it's been in the works for about 2 years now. The city passed a resolution in support of this. The county passed a resolution, and also Sandag is working on a resolution in support of this also. What has happened is that it's moving forward. And Kenzo Newcomb and Didios has asked for them to move forward and give them some standing to go to the government, that a MOU be passed between the private entities and the investment group, so it would give them some standing to go before our federal representatives and ask for support of this private partnership. And that's where it stands today. And earlier today, I believe the County Board of Supervisors passed that MOU in support of the public-private partnership. Now, it has to be noted that this public-private partnership agreement will not obligate the city in any way, shape, or form. There would be no financial obligation to the city for passing of this MOU. All it is giving them standing to go before and federal representatives and say, we are arm in arm with the city of Calexico, county of Imperial, and we would like to pursue this. It does not bind us, bind the city or bind the county in any way. So with that background, I like to say that this is where the project stands right now, and the ad hoc committee and the Chamber of Commerce are solely 100% behind supporting the city going forward with this MOU and trying to forward the project to the reconstruction of the port of entry. Thank you. Okay.
Any questions? Mr. Moreno? Mr. Hodge?
Not for Mr. Martin, but I want to know if we could do that, and maybe Supervisor Renison could pursue something.
Sure. Maybe we can have a few more questions. Mr. John Renison, Supervisor for Bill County? Yes. One of our supervisors.
Don't go away, okay?
Now we have
This
two
is the
experts here.
tag team. Honorable City Council, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council, Oscar. Did have a conference call with Mr. Moreno, Mr. Hodge, and Mr. Rodriguez, and I think I mentioned that to you, Mayor, yesterday afternoon regarding this item coming up today. Mr. Quinn was there representing the city since no elected could go, basically just to monitor that situation. It's pretty much straightforward. The MOU was prepared, it was approved, and we go forward, hopefully hit the ground running in January in Washington, whereby this lobbying will begin. We'll see if the legislation can be passed through the House and the Senate, enabling this type of partnerships to proceed. That's the whole key. And there's a lot of support building for this. Congressman Cuellar from Texas has introduced something last year. Basically, with the elections, everything kind of ceased in the holidays and things of that nature. Senator Feinstein has also submitted a Senate version of the same identical bill. There's some language in it that some senators didn't like, but it's what they call, it didn't get written up, that meaning it was, it's going to be reworded, but going to be reintroduced. So that's kind of where it stands right now. So we're looking forward to 2013, hopefully bring some good news. At least this thing will be moving. And unless there's any questions, that would be my presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have some issues.
Okay, just a second. So, no questions? No. Okay. Mr. Castro? No. Okay, Mr. Kim? You have questions for Mr. Hargrave or Mr.?
Well, I believe the same issues, not Mr. Hargrave, but...
Okay, why don't we direct him then to Mr. Hargrave, because he is giving the presentation then?
Yes, what I heard, the supervisor today had a meeting with the approved consultant for the project, and I'm not happy to see the supervisor excluding our city council's opinions, or doesn't deal with the city council directly to bypass the city council. I believe our city needs more respect from the supervisor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kim. I believe that at this point right now, like you said, everything was at a standstill because of the elections. And then it was myself and Mr. Romero that was on this subcommittee for the city council to be in those talks. And because Mr. Romero is no longer here, we're going to have a decision today to be able to appoint someone new and then hopefully be able to come back to that table, because this was some new information that I was not informed of, and so definitely need to work together. And once we have our new member in place, then we'll go back in there and start up again.
Just for information, Mayor Hurtado, I've worked closely with Mr. Renison, and we have a good dialogue on this issue, so if there's any more information, we'll continue to work together on this. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hargrave. Okay, moving right along, we're now at the announcements and public comments section of our agenda. Announcements and public comments are welcome, not to exceed 3 minutes. This is the time for the public to address the council on any item not appearing on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city council. The mayor will recognize you, and when you come to the microphone, please state your name and place of residence for the record. While members of the public are encouraged to participate, it is unlawful to disturb or delay the council meeting with personal or slanderous remarks. If the item you wish to comment on is a closed session or consent item, please comment now. If the item you wish to comment on is on the public portion of the agenda, we will take your comment when we get to that item on the agenda. Please direct your questions and comments to the city council. We're going to start with Germán Duran, which is here today to talk about a donation for kids and badges.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Honorable City Council, members of the public. My name is Germán Duran. I represent the Adrian C. Cordova Foundation. This is my wife, Lily. And Enrique Torregosa represents the Southwest Border Biker Organization. On December 1st, we did our first annual Porco Run, which was designed to get funds to give towards the Kids and Badges program that's conducted by the CLXC Police Department. I was successful with special help received by Madam Mayor Marisa Hurtado and Councilman John Moreno, who have unselfishly, every time we ask them for their help, are there. You know, Mr. Moreno does the MC, and this time...
He always does.
Yeah, he's always there. Anyways, it was pretty successful, so Part of the poker run, each biker was supposed to bring a toy, and we did collect about 60 toys, which we're also going to donate to the city toy drive giveaway that they give. So I would like to ask Chief Dunjar to come forward so I could present him with a check for $1,000 for the Kids and Badges program.
Would you like to say a few words, Chief?
Thank you.
And I think it's really important in a lot of ways, especially now, to show how much our community really does care about our youth. This, I have to tell you, this is Adrian Cordova, you know, and having known him and how much he was involved as a mentor with the kids in Calexico, this goes to show exactly what he was all about. And this organization does nothing but follow his legacy. And I think it's really important for us to know that even still now, he still gives back to the community. And I want to thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief.
Madam Mayor.
I just want
Madam Mayor.
to, just a second.
Madam Mayor. Just as a follow-up to that, obviously, we want to also thank them for their cooperation in helping the city in the toy drive that we have, which will be come forth on Thursday at 5
Right.
p.m., which we invite all the council to be here, so we can service, hopefully we'll be able to service about 400 individuals that need some assistance.
And that toy drive then is this Thursday at 5 o'clock here at City Hall. And tomorrow, Wednesday, we have Shop with a Cop. So the money, first of all, I want to say thank you to Lili, to her husband Herman, and to Enrique. When they asked me to do this event, we had 1 month to organize it. And we had a lot of fun, and especially on the day of the event, we had a lot of fun. And we knew why we were there, and it was a lot of hard work and real quick, but there's the result right there. And I would love to see the faces on those kids when they open up those gifts. But it was a great event, and I'm very, very thankful. And I'm definitely going to work with you next year if you're going to do that. Thank you. So again, your toy drive then is Thursday at 5 o'clock here at City Hall for anyone who still wants to bring any toys in, because I believe that we do still are in need of more toys for that drive. Thank you. Yeah, I think we should all commit to bring a toy. And again, tomorrow is then Shop with a Cop, and those $1,000 will be very helpful. Thank you so much. Now we're going to go ahead and move along now to our next speaker, which is Tony Garcia with CPAL. He wants to give us an update and a special recognition.
Good evening, folks. Buenas tardes. You gentlemen
Buenas
are a
tardes.
tough act to follow, but good job. My name is Tony Garcia. I am the current CPAL, the Calexico Parents Athletic League president. I'm here today basically to recognize some members of our community and a couple of our teams. Recently, as a matter of fact, last weekend, a couple of our teams participated in the Coronado Holiday Cup in Coronado, California. That's open, as far as I know, not only national, but international-wise. And we came back with a champion. We have a champion team. They are coached by Mr. Pedro Nunez. And he's bringing with him the winning cup. Now, Mr. Núñez, I'm going to name each team member. Voy a nombrar a los niños de los equipos. Primero, Luciano Martínez, se levanta, por favor. Eric Núñez. Julio Flores. Junior Campos. Iker Gamboa. Brian Muñoz. Nico Dávalos, Oscar González, Adrián Galvez, Ángel Ortiz, and Jesse Nunez. This team participated over a tournament this weekend in Coronado. They will also represent Calexico at the national games in Pennsylvania this summer. We have 2 teams going to Pennsylvania this year representing Calexico. No picture there? Okay. I'm going to give a couple of presentations to people that have been beneficial and just so supportive of our program. We are very proud of him. One of them, you will see him, you'll know who he is wherever he is driving around, because he drives around a pickup truck decorated with Los Águilas. He is Mr. Arturo Mora. May he say a couple of words?
I stopped the timer.
Well, I want to thank Director Carmen Estrada for the Calexico Athletic League, and for all the support she gave us and all the seasons. And well, for me, it's something very special, and for my kids here, all the kids in Calexico. So I want to thank Club America from Calexico and all the teams. The team that just won in Coronado, keep on, and good luck in Pennsylvania. Thank you.
We have another special recognition to a gentleman that's helped us out tremendously, not only at our events, but at our parades, and he also drives the teams to San Diego and wherever he needs to be used. He will be there at all times. Please give a big hand for Mr. Raul Gonzalez. These are shorter words. Okay, folks. On a side note, we're going to start our basketball tournament next month, being charged by Mr. Sergio Salazar and Mr. Salvador Cuevas from the high school. We're going to start it in January. Everybody's invited. Nobody gets turned back. We'll keep you updated on that. Another side note, I want to thank specifically some of the city council members who helped us out for our Christmas posada last Friday. Mr. Kim, thank you very much, sir. Mr. Castro, thank you very much, sir. And Sandra, Director, thank you very much. Thank everybody. That ends my presentation. Thank you very much.
Buenas
Okay, now,
tardes.
Ms. Estrada, ¿verdad?
Ajá. Buenas tardes, soy Carmen Estrada, directora y fundadora del programa de PAR. Y quiero darle las gracias a Sandra, señor Castro, señor King, por el apoyo que me dieron en el problema que tuve familiar y que sacaron adelante esta posada que la verdad es de los niños y de los padres. Y estoy muy contenta porque se trabajó en equipo y es como nosotros tenemos que trabajar para seguir adelante. Yo les pido de favor a señor King, señor Castro, Marixa, señor Hash, Moreno y City Manager y toda la comunidad, tenemos que trabajar en equipo, porque si no trabajamos en equipo no vamos a avanzar. Nosotros, la organización de Calexico PAL está agotada, pero no se da porque queremos trabajar en equipo y se está viendo que se está trabajando en equipo. De hecho, ya fue una muestra esta, Sandra, para mí y estamos contentos. Tú, Marixa, tú fuiste una de las personas que trabajamos en conjunto para el parque de Adrián Córdoba. Acuérdate que tenemos 3 años en esto. Esto no puede ser en vano. Es un trabajo enorme y se hizo con el corazón. Y yo sé que ahorita que estás ahí, junto con Castro, señor Castro, tenemos que trabajar en conjunto. No podemos estar sacándonos lo malo de cada una de las personas. Tenemos que agarrar lo bueno de cada una de las personas para trabajar en conjunto, porque así es como vamos a crecer. Porque cada una de las personas de nosotros tenemos algo bueno. Hay que escoger eso para brillar, porque es lo que necesita Calexico. Gracias.
Gracias, señora Estrada, y felicidades a todos los niños. Sigue adelante. Continue on, boys and girls. Thank you. Okay, I have Mr. Mohammed Asiad, I have a slip from you, but I didn't understand what it says here, what you're wanting to discuss. I don't understand your writing, I'm sorry. It looks like item number 2. I'm sorry? But what does that say there? It says public comments? Okay. Okay, then we're gonna take you when we get to that item, okay? Same thing for Norma, so if you don't mind, have a seat, and then we'll call you when, but which item was it again? You want both? Public comments and then going to the item, but which item is that?
I don't know who it is.
Okay, so your comments are just general? They're not directed to any item on the agenda? Okay, go ahead.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, city councilmen. I'd like to acknowledge and honor the contribution of our friend, Ms. Carmen Durazo. She was a great politician and educator and citizen of this city. She sat here as a councilman, woman, and I think by, the city, by honoring her and naming maybe the art and cultural center after her name, it will give her really a big boost of morale because she is fighting really for her life. She have given a lot to this community, and I'm here tonight to ask the city if it's possible we can do it, and really I think it will make a big difference because everybody knows Ms. Durazo, what she has been in this community and what she has given to our community. And speaking to her, I think she was so happy, and she is at UCLA, going through many surgeries. So I'm asking also maybe just a little simple, maybe reward to be sent to her to the hospital. That will really show how much this community care about its own citizen, as well as, a friend from the community. And I think this will be appreciated by the city council as soon as possible to reconsider renaming Carmen Durazo Art and Cultural Center, and maybe present it to her will be a kind from the city and, from the people who know Ms. Durazo. As well, I'd like to ask Mr. John Renaissance, maybe through the county, also acknowledgement because she was part of Imperial County. And I think we all need to come in bad moments like this to help a friend and somebody have given to this community. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Asiad. As you know, because it is public comments, we cannot make any decisions or anything like that, but we will take that into consideration. Thank you very much. Next comments are from Mr. Robert Gronich with regard to the Melrose Building. And I think it says here, City Apartments.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, honorable members of the City Council, City staff. My name is Robert Gronich. I live at 1948 Clinton Avenue in Calexico. The building, it's my understanding it's referred to as the City Apartments Building. Melrose is the company that currently occupies that building. So just to be clear on that. I did want to bring up this issue. This is the building that was damaged on April 4th of 2010. The earthquake was over 2 years ago. Several buildings were damaged. Some were demolished, many of which have been rebuilt and repaired. My building, the one Garland's is currently in right now, was severely damaged. My landlord was responsible enough to fix it within 6 months. This building has not been fixed in over 2 years. I'm aware that city staff has pursued remedy to this situation. It is my understanding that the city attorney is now attempting to legally force the owners to repair the building. I don't know if any comments to that can be made. I'd like to know where that stands, if possible. I am the lessee of that building, meaning that when Melrose leaves, and they're going to be leaving on February 1st, okay? I hold the lease, and I have to get another tenant in there. With the building in the condition that it is right now, there is no way I'm going to be able to lease that building. Now, I don't know if any of you have been downtown recently. I know that Maritza has. I know that John Moreno has. You guys, I saw Mr. Hodge down at the parade. There's too many vacancies in downtown right now. I've been living here all my life. I've been working in downtown literally all my life, since I was like 7 years old. I've never seen so many vacancies. And when they leave, and that building is in that condition, it's going to remain vacant. And so, again, it is my understanding that it is now in the city attorney's hands, and she's pushing legal recourse. And I ask this city council to get really aggressive and force these owners to repair this building. Not only is it a safety hazard, God forbid there be another earthquake like the one on April 4th. If you all remember, in August, we had a flurry of about 3 or 4 good earthquakes where Brawley suffered some real damages. Just this Sunday or Saturday, we had a nice little quaker. Another good one of those, and that thing's going to come down, and someone's going to get hurt. So I ask the city council to please be very aggressive and get these owners to fix the building. It's been over 2 years now. It's time.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Robert. You know that we share your concerns, and again, I don't believe we can make any responses at this time. However, an update might be a good idea for sometime in the future. You agree? Okay. Thank you, Robert. I have Norma Aguilar, but I believe, Ms. Aguilar, you want to discuss item 8C? Okay, so we're going to wait until we get to that point, okay? Okay. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and allow for each council member also to make some comments. So starting from my right, we'll start with Mr. Moreno.
Thank you, Mayor Hurtado. Just want to wish everyone a happy holiday. Next Tuesday, I believe it's Christmas Day, and hopefully everyone's safe and enjoys the time with their family and remembers the spirit of giving. I also wanted to bring up the idea, I met with Mr. Gronich last week, and he explained to me the situation with the building. I agree with everything he said today as far as the vacancies downtown, the empty lots, etc. And I hope that we can bring downtown to its former grandeur. I, like him, grew up downtown as well, and I go down there, and it just, I get an empty feeling, you know, that it's not what it used to be, but it could be what it used to be. So hopefully we can get this thing moving with that particular building in question. I also like to see what we can do to alleviate the traffic on Imperial Avenue, Friday afternoons especially. Chief Nuja, I know you're out there working with the traffic control officers, et cetera, and I think this is a big problem crossing Imperial Avenue, and it's been like this for a while, especially during this time of the year. It backs up past Cole, and it's really become a problem getting into Calexico. People are using the emergency parking lane to go down, and hopefully there's something we can do about that. And finally, the resurfacing of the streets, I think, is a good thing, Mr. Servin. But how do people know what streets will be surfaced? Is there just a communication as to, I've gotten complaints that the area of Walmart was being resurfaced during a very, very high volume time of traffic. Hopefully we can inform the public, or maybe we can select certain areas that aren't that high volume. I don't know, it's a plan of the city street general services, but that's something to consider. That's all I have, Mayor Hurtado.
Isn't the Walmart area high volume all the time?
Especially during the Christmas season, it's even higher.
Yeah. But good job. Finally
Thank
seeing some work there. Mr. Hodge?
Madam Mayor, I do have a few city council comments. First of all, Mr. Asiad, you took the words right out of my mouth regarding Carmen Durazo. I left a phone message with her yesterday, or her numbers, but I really didn't think that she would respond. She called me today, and surprisingly and pleasingly, her voice was very strong. And I asked her, could I give out particulars, and she said, sure. As I said, we all love her and we're wishing her well. The cancer is no longer in the liver or the kidneys. That doesn't mean it can't come back. It is spreading. She admits that she's on a higher critical level. They moved her from San Diego to UCLA because they could not stop the cancer. The cancer now is in the lungs. And this woman is extraordinary. She's very strong. And she said they're giving her a 30% chance. And she said, that sounds good enough to me. So, yes, I had thought today to recommend strongly that we honor her by naming the Cultural Arts Center, the Carmen Durazo Cultural Arts Center. But I give you credit, sir, for bringing it up first. So I just, and she wants to come back home Christmas Eve and Christmas. So God willing, she'll be back here, and then she's going to have to go right back to the hospital. So I ask everybody to, your thoughts and your prayers for her. She's been incredibly active and contributive to this city and the valley. The other point, Mr. City Manager and Fire Chief, I believe we have a fire hazard at the marquee at the CLXC 10 theaters. I don't think we should wait for the owners. I'd like for us to clean it up so it looks nice. Have you seen that? The weeds are almost growing all the way up to the marquee. So could we take care of it? So
we can certainly have the fire department look at it and see if in fact it is a fire hazard that we can provide a warning on the citation.
We can say it's a fire hazard and take care of it.
All right, Chief.
Now the other one. I brought this up before. Folks, there are some, it's on the west side on Cole, right before the section, excuse me, of Cole and 111. Right, basically, it's a little head of Denny's. Have you seen those red cones?
Yeah, you brought that up before.
Well, I think this is appropriate. I don't usually use profanity. But you know, it looks ugly. It looks like we did a half-assed job. And I don't think that that's appropriate for our city. Really, I think we should fix that. The cones are terrible. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? Okay. I really would like for us to do something about that. It looks ugly. I am very concerned about beautifying Calexico and making it look as best as possible. I've never seen an intersection or like that with cones. It looks like we put it up temporarily and then we just forgot to complete it. So I'd really like for us to work on that. The other issue, ladies and gentlemen, I teach U.S. government and U.S. history. I do feel, I want to make a comment. I do feel personally a little uncomfortable about invocations. I am spiritual, but I teach my students the principle of separation of church and state. But if my fellow colleagues believe that that's appropriate, then I will acquiesce and follow. But if that is the case, that we're going to have invocations, then I also teach religious diversity. Our prominent religion is Christianity, but we do have other religions. So if we're going to give prayer, we might want to consider a rabbi. We might want to consider someone from the Muslim community and so forth, if we're going to pursue this practice. But I just need to state that.
Okay, you only get 3. Just kidding.
Easy, cowboy.
Easy. All right.
I thought that was that the last one?
No, I'm not through. I attended the senior Christmas dinner. It was well attended, and they really know how to have fun. A little update on ICTC. Our mayor might want to comment more, give more detail, but Mr. Barraza during ICTC gave a report that ICTC and other agencies are having meetings with Mexicali, a binational attempt for the border infrastructure. So this follows what Mr. Hargrave commented, Mr. Renison commented on the border problem. And the purpose is to collaborate with Mexicali and to explore various opportunities. It's the same issues and concerns and hopefully opportunities that were brought up. For Calexico, ICTC brought up that we have now hired or contracted a consultant to create bus designs for the upcoming bus circulators. And we will have one here, God willing, in Calexico. So they will be coming to visit us and giving us information and hopefully giving us direction. So the point is, as a council and city staff, we need to stay on top of that. Also, January 24th, very important for the public to know about this. This is your opportunity to go forth. It's an unmet needs public meeting. It will be January 24th from 3 to 9 p.m. I'll bring it up again at the next meeting. It'll be at, please forgive me if I don't have the proper title, IID Board. It's on Broadway. And folks, if you have issues or you have areas of you want to see improvement, this is the opportunity to stand up and voice your concerns. And just one more thing. Mr. City Manager, we're coming down the line for recognition for city retirees.
Yeah. That's
We have a date?
That's
The 29th, I believe, which is the last Tuesday of January.
Excellent. And then after that, we will work on recognition for employees on a quarterly basis? That's correct. Okay, thank you very much.
Phew. Okay. Mr. Kim?
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, I've been talking with Mr. Servin about the Gutierrez Park, the flooding. Our children couldn't play because of mud. And also, same time, I seen the unleveling on the field. If we can put some sand to leveling, at least the water comes more clear faster than just making a little pond there. The other one is when I'm I'm visiting the senior apartments. The senior citizens they don't allow to have water filter in their home, which is the senior citizen, they have to get the 5-gallon can at the bottle to go upstairs with the water. Seniors. Even myself, a 5-gallon to go upstairs, I'm not going to be happy with that. I believe the city maybe can deal with some senior citizens apartments. At least each level have some water machine, even they put some quarters, so that at least they can have drinking water.
Yes.
Beg your pardon?
Which building are you talking about?
I'm talking about all the senior apartment. They don't have a water machine, or they cannot have a water filter in their room. So which is they have to buy the 5-gallon can bottle to go up to the upstairs. So actually, all the senior citizens they can same situation like the answer whatever. They need some at least a coin machine for the bottle cans. They can have some maintain their drinking waters. I think city have to go to with them to provide something for them. Even they are willing to pay 25 cents to get the gallon water, but they need to have a little more easier to get the water in it.
Is that all?
And the other one is, this is one of the goal I'm trying to throw to the idea to the council and the public committees. Calexico has lots of high rate of unemployment. And whatever developing company come out here, they just hiring the people, bring the people from out there, or they are hiring people from the Mexicali to doing the job. If a city can fund it through the CDBG fund to build own develop company with the mix with the public fund, to we make own developers, we can start doing the jobbing from our city. Of course, they have to go to RFP process, bidding process like the other company, and we can control our employments ourselves. At the same time, public, they can have some little profit whoever's invested. And we are talking about we don't have money and money is not there, but we have to learn to how to deal with what we have, what we can connect to the citizens' benefits. I believe we can create a job, we can hire the people from our city first. If we successfully, we can go deal with the other cities' job too. I believe one of the ideas, maybe city managers or our city councilmen look into it to try to create a job ourselves instead of we waiting some Superman to come to save us.
Yes.
And the other one is Mr. Haji was mentioning about the ICTC. I have a little different view with as a merchants. The ICTC, they pumping out the customer from the downtown to all the way to the county, which is we are downtown right now. So we're mentioning about we don't have much customer. We have a lot of empty place. We might gonna have a more empty place. We might gonna make the downtown as a ghost town instead of the downtown. We're talking about the history only. As ICTC, actually the intent to build the transportation, but same time, people who crossing the border to potentially to be able to be a customer for the downtown areas, they're gonna have a nice bus to go around to all the county. So think about the bid or downtown merchants has to be think about it that for the negative impact for us. And I believe a lot of people was mentioning about June Kim gonna come here to fire the city manager, the police chief. There's a lot of rumors going around. I'm not coming to machetes.
There you go.
I'm coming here to work together to what is the best of our town.
Excellent, Kim.
That's my intention. I'm not targeting any individual. I'm not favoring any individual. I'm my best interest of the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kim. Mr. Castro.
Yes, Mayor Maritza Hurtado, I would like to add an emergency item that's setting.
It's comments. Future agenda items.
I know, but this is my comment. Can I continue with this?
Go ahead.
Raise your microphone, we can't hear you.
I'm sorry?
Raise the microphone.
Okay. Okay. Mayor Maritza Hurtado, I would like to add an emergency item.
An emergency item.
That setting of a special city council meeting for Thursday, December 20th at 6:30 p.m. to discuss and take action on possible steps or action we can take to keep our children safe in our schools. Madam Maritza Hurtado, I believe this is a proper emergency item. We need to set up a special meeting as soon as possible to take about keeping our children safe in our schools. not a required to be on the agenda today, and we can agree to meet on Thursday, I so request the special meeting. If we are able to meet on Thursdays, I also request to our city manager to bring options or what is possible to us to do to keep our children safe in schools. And also, we invite the Calexico School Board members, the schools administration, and community. This is something that we really need to concern, because what is happening on the
Yes.
Sandy School, elementary school, can happen here in Calexico. So that's this is what I call an emergency. That's the reason I bring this item. I know we don't have this, we have to comment, but this is an emergency, and I would like to follow up all the procedures to have that kind of meeting, because I mean, this is something.
And I agree.
I don't know how to say, but this is something
I
very
strongly
bad.
agree with you.
And I agree with Mr. Castro. Just a little information, we did have a meeting yesterday with the administrative staff to go over the possibility of
As a
an
school
active shooter, as site administrators and administrative team, to go over the possibility of an active shooter on campus. There is a crisis plan that I had developed working with the police department about 5 or 6 years ago, but it needs to be put out there where the community can have input, where the community can know exactly what's going on, and for having the police department to take the lead on this. I think what we should brainstorm first as to what will be on the agenda of that meeting, and to have a certain purpose and a desired outcome once we get together and say, what is it we want to meet and discuss? I applaud the effort you bringing this up. This is a great idea. However, I think we need a bigger part of the school district to be part of this.
Exactly.
And especially the law enforcement and all emergency agencies, such as the fire department. So, great concept, but let's try to narrow it down and try to see if we can include other people other than ourselves.
That's a very, very important item that you're talking about. The only problem is that we are under the comment section of our agenda, and if we would want to move forward, I believe we would need the legal advice from
Yes,
Ms.
will you
Lyons.
please? I need a legal advice
It's-
on that.
Sure. Number one, you could add an urgency item to your agenda tonight if 4 council members agree that this is an issue that came to the attention of the council after the agenda was posted, which it did because the incident occurred after this agenda went out. And then if you agree that there's a need to take immediate action tonight, as long as 4 council members agree to that, then you could add it to the agenda. But just simply setting the date of a special meeting, that's okay to do within the terms of the Brown Act. You can decide to do that tonight if you want to set a special meeting for a certain day, or if you just want to if you want to take a vote that this is an urgent matter that needs to give urgent direction right now, you could take a vote and then give some urgent direction right now if you would like to.
Well, I make a motion to take an action tonight for a special meeting on this item.
Okay, you want to detail what exact,
Everything
for
related-
discussion and then eventually a...
discussion, and look for, we need to.
A plan?
I'm sorry?
A plan?
We need a plan, but we need to work as soon as possible. We need to get together all the stakeholders, and especially the school district. Why? Because this is something related to all the citizens here in Calexico, and especially the kids. That's my concern.
Okay. I know that you're standing there, Norman. You want to make a comment? The only thing is that we're within the comments of the council at this point. Any input? Mr. Kim, any input? I might not be able to input.
Yeah, I think I cannot talk because conflict of
Yeah,
interest.
you're right.
But things are said in the meeting, I believe we might can tonight without me to approve of some concept of the Mr. Castro's intention. I believe our city staff, or like Mr. Moreno was mentioning, the police chief has to be sitting with the district, what is going on, then bring into the special meeting.
I think, with all due respect to Mr. Castro, I think we should wait for another Thursday in January when we come back from vacation. Kids are going to be out of school. It'll give time for the various other agencies to put together and share some type of agenda with us. I'm not sure if it calls for a meeting this Thursday. I think it could be after the holiday. Kids are going to be out of school. That's what I'm saying. I'm thinking the first Thursday in January, so we can better prepare and have a good agenda for this discussion, to come to meet and brainstorm and not really have, we need time to prepare, I would say, for a meeting of this. Kind of a workshop, maybe, it would be a better term for it. So we need time to prepare. And I'd like to hear what Ms. Aguilar has to say.
Sure.
Good evening, Norma Aguilar, 839 Heber Avenue. Just want to reassure Mr. Castro that the school district staff, administrators, principals, and the police department are collaborating together on response teams, reviewing the safety action plan, and it is prominently on all our minds, including the school board, and there is something happening. That's one of the questions that I had for our superintendent, that we needed to get out information to our citizens, to our parents, that something is happening. A letter went out just with some students. Unfortunately, I think that they were unable to get them all out. They should be more, or all of the letters be issued out by tomorrow. But there is a process in place, there's something happening. And at some point there, as Mr. Moreno mentioned, there is a point to preparation that's happening right now. All day Monday, superintendent met with PD, met with security, met with administrators, and there's internal communication going on, and external happening today and tomorrow.
Just thinking now, when we're making these comments, Ms. Aguilar, do you believe that maybe it would be an idea to, for example, being that you're the first to have brought this question up, to maybe invite one of the members of this council to participate in meetings that you're having? I know that you have the chief.
I would imagine that that's something that you, at your council, would direct and offer that recommendation of participation, so that together we can get the information out collectively to our parents and community that something is happening.
When is going to be the gathering?
That's what, I'm not telling you that there's the specific gathering. We haven't set that date. It will happen I think it's not the 10th, John, I think it was around there.
We're having a meeting with the school district, I think the Wednesday we come back.
Yeah.
I think it's the 9th or the 10th.
So if you want to direct to have representation from the city council, I would imagine that would be someone you would direct it to, Ms. Maria Ambris.
Yes, I like to be there, and I know my colleagues, they are concerned about this issue, and that's the reason I bring this item. And, I consider it an emergency.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Finish.
So as far as having an emergency meeting, possibly we won't need to do that? Is that what you're agreeing to? Being that what
They've
Norma had
already
just
started.
mentioned now is that yesterday they already had a full-blown discussions with staff and administrators with regard to how they're handling their needs at the school districts. What you want to maybe do is involve yourself in what they're doing.
Yes, of course, no problem.
Our next meeting is January the 8th, and if they're going to be January the 10th, then we can probably have something on there.
Because I think the point that Councilman Castro is making is we are a very important stakeholder, so we need to be at the table. So applause for the district for initiating it, but we need to be part of it.
My just suggestion to the board, this council, to if we allow to the administrator, city manager, and this police chief to discussing with them If some urgent matters, city matters has been involved, probably we might call emergency meeting, I believe 27 or 28 before the school starts, in case we need a city level can help to handle it. Or if not, we can still bring it to our regular meeting. Okay. So city council, I mean, I like to consider the council member to direct to the administrations, which is city manager and the police chief, to discussing all the issues, all the safety issues with them. If arise something urgent matter, we can have a special meeting 28th before the school start, if the city council level do it. If not, we're waiting until the 8th meeting to report to the council.
Okay. The only thing is that I think that probably what we all want to do is not duplicate efforts. We're one city and one school district. So there's already involvement by our police chief, is that correct? So as far as what I believe that what you're trying to say is that you would like some involvement from this council as well, and be there together with the chief, is that right?
Definitely, but remember, every day is passed, it counts. I mean, we can lose time. My concern is we need to work every day on this issue. I mean, if the kids go out of classes, it doesn't mean we the adults, we can control or decide the benefits of this community. I mean,
right.
that's not, for me, that's not a reason. We need to make sure about the safety of these communities. That's my key point on this issue.
Just so you know, Mr. Castro, all the schools in the month of November had lockdown drills whereby they would alert the classrooms and the students, and they would lock themselves in the classrooms until, public safety came and checked the classrooms and did that kind of thing. They got hid under in the corners, turned the lights off, away from the windows, and teachers as well, et cetera. So those drills are ongoing, just so you know, but I know there needs to be one where I guess it's a real role-playing kind of situation with an active shooter, just like it was in Sandy Hook.
Today I went to pick up my grandkid at Cesar Chavez, and one of the front door was closed, and I opened the door with my business card. I opened the door to go in there and pick up my kid. So
they didn't catch you for trespassing?
That's for me. That's something that we need to concern. I went to pick up my grandson, but what about if someone bring a weapon or something?
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Castro,
that's my concern.
What if also, maybe at the end of the meeting, you share some information with Norma Aguilar, and if we find in the future that maybe we do need that emergency meeting, definitely we'll work together and do that.
Yeah, sure.
Is that good?
No problem.
Did you want to make any other comments?
No comments.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Yes.
It's really important to make a comment at this point.
Of course.
If I may.
Just you.
Thank you. And only because I know that we're
Just remember, we can't catch you unless, hear you unless you're there.
I know, well, you can hear me now.
Yeah, you can.
I really want you to understand is I know everybody's kind of swirling of how something like this could happen. And obviously, at this point in time, I have to tell you that I believe that everybody, just like Councilman Castro said, everybody is hypervigilant right now. The hard part is keeping that vigilance going all the time. What happens is we become lax, and every single incident, on the same weekend, unfortunately, where we have this most serious incident, there's a mall shooting where 3 people are killed. A man stands in a parking lot in Newport Beach and fires 50 rounds from a handgun because he's upset. There's 2 Topeka, Kansas police officers that are shot dead in their tracks, and all on the same weekend. And it's, I hate to say it, but every one of these events has precipitative events that lead up to it that nobody talks about. Everybody that the shooting at the theater, Columbine shooting, every one of these shootings are investigated, I mean, to the hilt, And every one of them shows that there's a type of conduct that occurs prior to the shooting. And people ignore those things. It's very important for the public to understand, parents to understand, teachers to understand, that those things are important to know. We can't ignore it. The man who we were just talking about today, the man who was standing in the middle of the parking lot firing off rounds into the air, there was people taking videos of him, watching him do it so they could put it on YouTube, but nobody called 911. and that we need to be vigilant. As far as the police department goes, we train on this. If God forbid, if this incident was to happen, we are ready to go. That's why we have the weaponry we have. That's why we have the plans we have. That's why we've been working. Unfortunately, as with the district, the administration changes, and we've got to keep those plans consistent. And that's what we've been trying to do. We have been working on this thing way back in preparation of the day that it may be needed. And that's how we have to do it. There's a lot of people who have different segments of this, but I want to assure you as a council and as the people that this is something that is on the highest priority of all the public safety concerns, as well as the district, and we are dealing with it.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you very, very much. Mr. Rodriguez?
Just a quick comment, because I think the chief is absolutely right, and during our department head meeting this Monday, we talked about that, and we've been working on our facilities. Let's not forget our facilities. We talk about the schools, but what about our facilities? And that's one of the things that we've been looking at ourselves. You will start seeing some biometrics being used at the cashier's office where we get the cash. There'll be biometrics that are being installed now that only certain people will be able to have access into that area, that will be only through a thumbprint. The two major doors, there's going to be some inconvenience, but we have to do this. The two major doors will be biometric, so that only certain people will be allowed with their thumbprints to go in. We need to secure those areas by knowing who is back there. And as the chief was saying, not only who goes back there, but we also need to look at the signs before things happen. We'll always look at it after it happens, but there are signs out there, and we need to identify who is coming into our facilities. So you will be seeing some changes on our own facilities, and you will be probably looking at some inconvenience when people come into City Hall and want to see a particular department. We're looking at a procedure to register when you come in. Who is coming into our facilities? What are they doing there? Who are they going to go see? How are they getting out? Are we making sure they actually get out? You know, a lot of these things we overlook, like the chief said, until an incident occurred. So there's going to be some inconvenience, but we've got to start looking at the safety issue now and onward, not just because it happened now, but we have to have this consciously every single day. We have to look at these things. So you will be looking at some changes that are going to occur in our own facilities, because we are already beginning to notice that. You'll see some video cameras that are out in the lobby. They're pointed in certain directions so that we can record it, we can videotape to take care of not only our employees, but who's in City Hall, why are they coming in, why are they going in the back. Again, there may be some inconvenience to the public, but I think it's well worth it to provide security for our employees as well as the public.
And many government buildings also have metal detectors. El Centro has in the courthouse, etc. No. So that's...
Yes, Mr. Hodge.
It's such a horrific thing that happened, and I'm going to make my political statement here. Gun control, when you say that, that's very controversial, but I cannot imagine anyone, even members of the NRA, that will now hopefully put pressure on our legislatures to pass common sense gun safety laws. I'll say it that way. I believe that that's, not only do we have to secure more safety, but we need to put pressure, and I think even if the children speak out, that will make a big difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hodge, and thank you, Mr. Castro. Actually, thank you, everyone, for your input on such an important subject. Okay, now it's my turn. Finally.
Hour and a half.
We just celebrated our Calexico Pink Parade just recently. Thank you to the Chamber of Commerce, the Desert Valley Bandits, and the Vigilantes. That was a really special event. And it was very beautiful to see all the pink floats. Everybody did a great job, so thank you so much. This past Wednesday, as mentioned by one of the members, is that we had a binational border meeting, and it was basically a follow-up to the Select Committee California-Mexico Affairs, the assembly meeting we had here on the 28th of November. And that meeting was held at the ICTC building in El Centro, where we met with the Mexicali Public Works, Economic Development Department, and Mexicali Tourism. Those present on behalf of the United States was Mark Baza, Daniel Fitzgerald with the Calexico Enterprise Zone, and Mr. Daniel Romero representing the Chamber of Commerce, and myself. Very interesting meeting. We had discussions on the ideas what Mexicali wants to do on their side of the new port of entry, proposed site of the new port of entry, and basically trying to tie both goals together in a very detailed manner. So that was a very interesting meeting. We'll be having our next meeting on the 31st of January. On Thursday, we, as several members, were present for the inauguration, grand opening of El Quintero Senior Apartments, which is the sister to the Dianza Hotel, and it's a beautiful building, ended up looking very much like the Dianza Hotel right next door. It was really interesting to hear the story of why they named it El Quintero, which was one of the employees that died from an accident building the buildings for the corporation, so that was really nice. The same day in the evening, we had the ribbon cutting for the new Heffernan Memorial Healthcare District building that's right across the street. And that same night, we have a new president, which is Norma Aguilar for our school district, and we welcome 2 new board members to the school district, which was Mr. Ciro Calderon and Ms. Leti Zuno Vizcarra. Good luck to them. The other big event that we had just recently was on December the 2nd, was our Farm Labor Appreciation Breakfast. And that was an event that's a yearly event, and I had never done that before, but we were there since 2 o'clock in the morning, and it went all the way straight through 6 o'clock. And I didn't think I was going to make it, but actually, it was a really nice event. It was very festive, and a lot of people, and we had a lot of fun, so I know I'll be there again next year. The other item that I wanted to mention is something that's already been mentioned, is that not to forget that January the 29th is when we're planning our employee recognition for the city of Calexico. Make sure we get that done. And again, once again, I'll mention that tomorrow is Shop with a Cop. Thursday is our toy drive at 5 o'clock here at the office. At City Hall. Just wanted to make one comment that I know that there's been a lot of talks about parks and issues that we have, especially for Mr. Kim, that's a new member here on the council, is that we do have a subcommittee, Mr. Castro and I, and we are having those discussions once again now that the election is over, so we will be getting in there and initiating our work one more time as a subcommittee. The last item that I'd like to mention, and that I'm sorry I don't have any more flyers for, a candlelight vigil. As you know, all witnessing so far, that our conversation has been the victims of the Sandy Hook massacre. And Friday on the 21st of December at Crummett Park, we will have an event, which is actually a joint event between the City of Calexico and the school district and the Associated Calexico Teachers to memorialize those lost in that event. From 3 to 5 in the afternoon, we're going to give an opportunity for the public to come in and create condolences cards or banners and letters and things like that, together with Sandra from the library. And then from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock, we will have then the memorial and the candlelight vigil. So anyone who would like to participate, we're looking for volunteers. Anyone who wants to bring champurrado or coffee or donuts or anything like that, you're welcome to do that with us. So I'm hoping that I can print out another one of these and maybe put a few out or on our door and make sure that everybody knows. The school district and ourselves and Sandra, everyone's trying to put that on Facebook and trying to, I'm sorry? The event is on Friday, this Friday starts at 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock for the condolence cards and all that creating, that stuff. And from 5 to 7, it'll be actually the memorial. We're planning on having some speakers and having some students come in and sing a little and things like that. So if you can be out there, it's going to be a cold night, so everybody get ready for that. So thank you so much for that participation. That was, I'm sorry? Norman, you wanted to make another comment? Sure.
Sorry, Norma Aguilar, 839 Heber Avenue. I just want to also note that it's not just it's an opportunity for the community to come together and comfort one another and send comfort to the people in Connecticut. But it's also an opportunity, we're reaching out through the Family Resource Center and through individuals who are counselors, that they're volunteering their services, providing, if people are struggling emotionally with grief because of what the situation has brought out in, memories in their own lives, or if they're having difficulties with their kids, as was mentioned earlier, there are warning signs, as the chief mentioned. So, those are the things we do want to focus on the comforting and coming together, but we also want to focus on the part of mental health, that we want to connect families and individuals with the services that are needed. Thank you.
Right. Quickly to mention before we get to Friday, if anybody does need any help, we are counting on the Family Resource Center of Calexico.
Ms.
Okay.
Hurtado, I have a
Yes.
short request. Short.
Sure.
Okay. I have a friend that requests me, I like to have a back riding for our security officers, which is fire department and the police officers. So
Could you repeat that again?
I like to have a back riding as a city councilman to how they works, what their working environmental for the two security officers, which is police and the fire departments. Yeah, right then, yeah. So I like to have experience myself to how hard work they're doing it.
Sure. I guess you can contact the chief or...
Yes.
Sure.
Don't contact the
I think
chief.
we've all had that experience so far.
Make sure you don't go in the back seat.
Don't forget the vest.
Okay. Last comment, Mr. Hunt.
No, it's a clarification. I spoke about ICTC, and then Mr. Kim added a comment. The bus circulator will only circulate within the city of Calexico. That bus circulator will not leave Calexico. And at this point in time, we do have buses coming in and going to El Central and Brawley and so forth. So that's what the bus circulator is about, inside only Calexico. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Moving along then on our agenda, we're at the consent agenda section of our agenda. Do I have any
Madam
motions?
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve that.
Second.
I have a pull-out.
Thank you. You have what, Mr. Kim?
The number 1 and number 6.
Okay. So will you modify that motion, please? Number 1 and number 6, you said, Mr. Kim, correct?
1 and 6.
1 and 6?
6, number 6.
Okay. Amendment on that motion?
Okay. Madam Mayor, make the amendment on the motion.
Second.
Okay. Please vote. Mr. Kim, comments on number 1.
Okay. This item was first reading was approved at last November. I didn't have a chance to participate in the vote, so I taking this chance to express my opinion. That areas is residential areas. We planned that areas residential areas. People form the town over there as residential areas. And suddenly, some of the people buy the land. They want to change the zoning to make the what's called the departments. And I believe the community members even they might not say anything, but they're not going to be appreciating because when they come between mixed residential and the apartment area, condominium or apartment areas, the value and the living style is changed. That's what I'm saying, as we have to reconsider. I know that you guys already approved it. This is second level, but I still have to express my opinion to change the zoning about that areas. Because we commit to the community, we're gonna have residential areas. We just suddenly changed that.
But it's already a residential apartment. We're changing it to planned unit development, which is townhouses, which is something very similar.
Yes, but the townhouses or the condominium or the apartments, they making different look as residential areas. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Okay, well, would you like to move for its approval?
Well, I'd like to make the motion to not to approve it, because it's not going to be.
Okay, do I have a second? Right. Okay, there is no second, Mr. Kim, so I believe then that, where's John going? So then in the balance of the council that's still left here, would you entertain a motion for its approval?
I will make the motion to approve this item, Madam Mayor.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, please vote. Okay, motion passes 3-1. Okay, you pulled item number 6, Mr. Kim. Would you like to comment?
The CB, this is what we were talking about, the levying the fee for the merchants?
Yes, this is the fee that is on an annual basis. It requires that we follow a procedure, and the first procedure is your intent to continue to reestablish the district for next year. There is no change in boundaries, and there is no change in the fee. So you would have a public hearing if you move on this item, then you will actually have the public hearing on the 8th, and we will publish it to let the public know that we're having a public hearing.
So actually, this is the first step to for the public hearings.
That is correct.
Okay, bid. Yeah, okay, so I believe, I'm not agree with the bid of forcing it. Well, I'm not saying denying, but we have to look into the way we spending, and we have to what I believe is not the money we're giving the money to running. Is first of all, we have to listening for the community members to how they're gonna to work with together to improve themselves. Actually, this one for the downtown merchants, which and the bid areas, the merchants, and we need implementing in their way, not only for the levying the bid, levying the fees. We need to have like more from the bid. They make own plan to come before we levying the fees. Yeah, because this is whatever making the plan, we just spending money for the blind just shooting. We need to have some kind of a long-term goal, long-term plan, how bid gonna be improving condition for the business areas. That is one of the things that the bid has to be come up with a long-term plan and how they're gonna do it. And we just, what I see the bid spending a lot of parties, but actually they are connected to their business. That we believe the bid has to be kind of have the same voice with the merchant through together to bid to come to us to, you know what, we need to this, we decide this one, or we need to spend this way, so we need to have some kind of the fees, we're gonna need to be levy from that fees. I think so we need
Mr. Kim, today what we're doing is adopting a resolution declaring the intention to levy. I would suggest that, for example, here's Mr. Lopez, he belongs to the bid. They're a very active committee here in the city of Calexico. You might want to sit down and meet with them and kind of find out what their goals are and where they're going towards, what they've done in the past. They're actually a very active committee here in the city of Calexico.
Yes, they're active, but...
Madam Mayor, I do agree with Mr. Kim. Maybe step up with a little more communication. what you do is very important, but I think his point is well taken.
What I guess I'm trying to say is that in this agenda, this point where we're at right now is only the adoption of the resolution, and those discussions should be held another time.
Call for the question, Madam Mayor.
Okay? I guess we're going to need a vote to continue, or actually to end discussion at this time, because the call for a question has been made. And the question is if the rest of the council wants to go ahead and just acknowledge receipt, adopt the resolution and continue on.
I'll call for the question. Is there a motion to second?
I'll second that.
Please vote. Okay. Question has been called. No longer going to have any discussion. We're going to go ahead and vote now for its approval.
We need a motion and second on the reso.
Can I have a motion then?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Moreno and Mr. Hodge. Please vote. Okay. Apologize, the buttons are not functioning today very well. Okay, motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Moving on to the successor agency of the City of Calexico, item number 7, a resolution of the Calexico Community Redevelopment Agency successor agency adopting a conflict of interest code and adopting through incorporation by reference the standard conflict of interest provisions of 2 California Code of Regulations, section 18730.
So moved.
Second.
Did we have anything to explain?
Not unless there's questions.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Please vote. Thank you. Item passes 5-0. On to City Council, new business. Item number 8, confirmation of mayor's appointments. Item A is appointment of mayor for Pro Tem Bill Hodge to the Joint Pool Facilities Committee with Calexico Unified School District. That is something that we were discussing today at length, and because former Mayor Romero was the person that was with me on that subcommittee, then at this point we'll be allowing then for Mr. Hodge to be my new partner.
Thank you very much.
My new partner in crime. Thank you. Next item is item B, appointment of mayor to the Port of Entry Committee. And at this point, I'd like to establish and appoint Mr. Moreno for that position, and apologize, there's a little
Thank you.
typo
I'd be
there.
happy to serve.
Thank you. Looking forward to doing that, and doing that quickly too, because lots happening now. Item C is the mayor's appointments to the Oversight Board for the Calexico Community Redevelopment Agency successor agency. On that item, I'd like a little clarification for the public to understand that part.
Yes, Mayor. When the successor agency, when redevelopment agencies were dissolved, the successor agencies took over. And what the law says is that there needs to be an oversight board made up of 7 members. 2 of the members of the oversight board that is to oversee successor agency activities are appointed by the mayor of Calexico. So this is just a mayor's appointment, and what occurred before with Mayor Romero, I believe his intent was for the position, one of the appointees to be the current mayor of the city, whoever's filling that position, and then the other member appointee would be whoever is holding the city manager's position. So just to keep housekeeping and things in order, it's just a good idea to have the confirmation that that is your choice so that they can continue on, because the oversight board will need to have some meetings probably in early January to take action on some items.
Okay. Therefore, then, I believe that we should have that continuance of allowing the mayor and myself to be on that board together with the city managers. So we're going to go ahead and go with that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 9, confirmation and reappointment of current appointees or removal of current appointees and declaration of vacancies to existing commissions by council members Moreno and Castro. So we'll start with Mr. Moreno.
I think there was a mix-up, if I'm not mistaken, with the Arts Commission. Is that correct, Ms. Garcia? So I don't have to fill a vacancy there? No. I would need to fill a vacancy. Beautification, I would want to appoint Marianne Valenzuela.
We're actually going to have you make the appointments on January 8th.
Oh, okay, okay.
What we wanted to do tonight is confirm that, number one, that there's vacancies on boards that are related to your position, and then to see, do you want to keep the people in place that you already have appointed, or do you want to remove them tonight, declare the vacancies so that all the appointments can be made on January
Well,
8th?
I want to keep some, and I want to ask some if they want to continue.
Ms.
Okay.
Lyons, I have some question about the eligibility of the commissioners. Can you give me an answer for that?
The only thing is that that's not on the agenda right now?
Yeah, but the eligibility of the commissioners.
Can we
Yes, let's finish
discuss
this.
with Mr. Moreno first where he wants to go with this, and then we can answer questions
Yeah.
regarding eligibility, because that pretty
Okay.
much applies across the board. But do you want to take action? I would say if you know that you want to confirm appointments, go ahead and do those tonight. For the ones that you still need to potentially talk to the commissioners, then we can bring that back on the 8th if you want to remove or declare vacancies at that time. I think the important thing is if you know people that you want to stay in their position, tonight is a night to confirm that so that there's consistency and there's no vacancies, you know, if you're confirming the appointments.
Okay, well, I'll confirm the appointment I have in the arts stays the same. Okay? The beautification, Marianne Valenzuela. But you're going to vote on that. Okay, okay. So there's a vacancy on the second one.
Okay.
Economic development, I'm going to include a vacancy on that one. At this point, I'm going to keep the planning, keep the police, keep the recreation, keep the personnel, keep the library, keep the historical, keep the business improvement, keep the Measure H, keep the financial advisory, and keep the street naming.
So it just looks like the beautification and the Economic Development Commission, those are the only ones you have vacancies.
I believe so, yes.
Okay, we're done?
With me, yes.
Okay, Mr. Castro?
Well, in my case, I'm going to remove the Commissioner of Planning. The Commissioner from Measure H, Planning, that's one, Planning, Measure H, and also Measure H. The other ones, I'm gonna keep them.
Okay.
Measure H, and, I don't remember the other one, but right now, I only have those to open to vacancy, to open for vacancy, planning and Measure H.
Okay, so the removals are just Planning Commission Measure H, and you would request that the city manager's office advertise those vacancies so you can do new appointments?
Yes.
Okay. And the rest of them are confirmed, the rest of your appointees?
Well, I wanted to let me do that right now. One curious question is why we're not having on this agenda the opportunity for Mr. Kim to make his appointments, and then Mr. Hodge just mentioned that looking at his list, he has some issues.
Mr.
Or some
Kim
clarification.
is not on here because we needed 10 days from the vacancies being declared.
Oh, okay.
And you need 10 working days, and since City Hall's closed on Fridays, we couldn't do that between December 4th and December 18th.
I see.
So we needed to have his item on the 8th, so we could have 10 full working days of advertisement.
Okay, and
So we may be able to get these ones with Castro and Moreno advertised so that they can also appoint on the 8th if we have 10 working days between now and January 8th.
Okay, and I believe that Mr. Kim, what he's trying to ask is the procedures or who qualifies.
Councilmember Kim, what was your question? related to eligibility?
Yes, because I was gonna nominate some commissioners and school employees and school board member. But I see that shall neither hold a public office. So the school board member cannot be in the commissioners?
The law related to appointment on city boards, commission committees is set by the city council. So back in 2005, the council approved an ordinance that set forth the terms of office, the commissions, and the eligibility. So the current ordinance, it's under CLXC Municipal Code Section 2.19.010. I believe it addresses eligibility, and it just says that to be eligible to hold appointment on a city board, commissioner, committee, they shall not hold public office, they shall not be city employees, and they shall not be an officer of any other local, state, or national partisan official group. So if the council wants to continue with those eligibility requirements, then you should not appoint people who hold public office or city employment. If the council wants to consider modifying the ordinance so you could appoint people who hold public office or potentially city employment, then council could review that modification to the ordinance.
So this time I cannot nominate school board member or other Heflin board members. I cannot be nominated as commissioners.
You shouldn't if you want to follow the current law. And
Okay.
if you want to do that, then the council should probably consider an amendment to your ordinance that sets out eligibility so that it's consistent.
But teachers or my supporter, they are not living in Calexico, but they are working in Calexico.
Oh,
They
right.
can be.
I forgot to mention that. That's the other issue of eligibility is they shall be a city resident or regularly work within the city. So if you're thinking of nominating a Calexico teacher, obviously they regularly work within the city and they would be eligible. Calexico teachers are not prohibited under the city's current ordinance. It's just city employees and people that hold public office.
What about the city employees, supposed husband or wife?
That's not prohibited under your ordinance right
Okay,
now.
thank you.
Okay, are we done, Mr. Castro?
No, yes, I want a clarification of how it is a process to appoint someone from the public for housing commission. I would like to hear that from
The Housing Authority?
Housing Authority, yes.
The Housing Authority is different. It's not governed under the city rules because the Housing Authority appointments are pursuant to state law. So state law says that when there's a vacancy on the Housing Authority Board, the entire city council makes the decision about who those appointees.
So
It's
that
not
entire-
individual council members.
Oh, okay.
Right, that's why that's not included on this list. It's the entire council because state law.
Okay.
Just like what we just talked about in terms of the oversight board, that's solely a mayor's appointment because it's state law.
Now I understand.
Thank
Thank you.
Okay, I guess we'll have a couple of comments on this subject. I'm not sure if this young lady had a question on this one here.
It was kind of like a general question, just pertaining to the appointments. Are you guys?
The only problem is that when you speak out,
Microphone.
sitting out there, we can't hear you but hold on just a second. There's someone else that wants to make comment, and I'm only doing this because we actually should do this before we start, but because it involves the public and it's important for everyone to understand how the process goes, come on over.
Point of clarification, I did submit an item, request to speak for oral communication on this item.
Oh, you did?
I gave it directly to you.
Really? I
Yeah.
didn't bring my glasses today, sorry.
All right. I also have a question, Norma Aguilar, 839 Heber Avenue. I'll read you the ordinance. To be eligible for and to hold appointment, each appointee shall neither hold public office or city employment, nor shall she or he be an officer of any local, state, or national partisan official group. All members of commissions, boards, and committees of the city shall be residents of the city or shall regularly work within the city. When the Measure H committee was put in place and was appointed, I did have a question because I had been recently elected to the Calexico Unified School Board. I did ask then City Manager Victor Carrillo about the above-mentioned ordinance because I saw the language that says holding public office. Mr. Carrillo informed us that the holding of political office definition applied to holding office within the city council itself. If I recall correctly, legal was there. I don't know whether it was you or was somebody there, but we did have a legal person. If there is a conflict in terms of that, I would call it to the attention to the board that clarification is needed on the ordinance to accurately reflect what defines public office. Is it, and from what I'm hearing, I guess, is what you're saying, you're defining it, is any public office within the city, is it any public office within the city or county or both? If it defines it as within the city, then the council itself violates and will continue to violate the ordinance by the substitution of a council member for a committee member, regardless of the city committee. And if there is a conflict, I will recuse myself in terms of that. I will step down, and if it comes out that it is a issue that completely cannot sit, then I will resign. I want to make that clear because I also thought it was a conflict to be seated. I just recently got elected to the school board by the majority, at least, of my colleagues. And so that would make Mr. Mike Davies as the vice chair, the new chair. I just wanted to clarify that. But like I said, my understanding was that, and that was the clarification given to me by then city manager. Does it put in question Measure H votes? I don't know. That's as per your
That's another whole question.
Let me clarify that this isn't an issue related to conflict of interest, so it wouldn't call into question those issues. This is again, this is not state law. This is your council's policy. So the interpretation of it, I would lean towards it being a broad interpretation at this point in time, but you make the law, you interpret it. So if you want to clarify that issue, if the council wants to consider this and take it up and clarify that issue, you can do that. This is your law. It's not state law, and it's not conflict of interest issues, so.
Okay. Thank you.
So what that means is then
Miss.
we have to change the bylaw or ordinance or?
It sounds like maybe we should have an agenda item that this is discussed, and you can give a clarification on this particular, the council can give clarification on what you want to do. But tonight, we can't make that decision. So if the council wants to take this up at a future meeting, we can put it on the agenda so we can clarify who is eligible for holding city commissions, committees, boards, appointments to those.
I think it's fine just the way it is.
But we could continue discussing that, but for now, if we can hear out Rosemary Paz.
Hi, I'm Rosemary. I just have kind of like an overall question about you guys' bylaws, and just because there seems to be a lot of questions on how appointments are made in general. Where do you guys have your bylaws available, and where do you guys advertise to meet the 10-day quota? Like, where do you guys do advertising for when you guys are seeking for appointments?
I believe it's on our website.
I would have to check with Gabby Garcia, but in terms of the law, it would be website and then would be posted in City Hall, and I think it has to be posted in the library for the 10 days. And then in terms of, the city council has city council procedures, they're in the municipal code, and that's on the website.
Okay, so do you guys do any form of paper advertising around town or anything like that? Just because I understand that there's a lot of advertising and a lot of marketing that can be done through Facebook, but I think that coming from a realistic point of view, even though we have moved forward in this town, and I feel like there's a younger generation coming through that is really involved in the internet, I still feel like Calexico consists a lot a lot of citizens in Calexico are not necessarily people that you're going to be able to reach through the internet, and I just feel like a lot of these citizens would be a lot of citizens that would be concerned with some of the issues that we're addressing, as opposed to the citizens that are more able to access this information. But so that was just my question. But thank you, guys.
Thank you for your input, Ms. Bass.
Mayor,
Yes.
I forgot, Jennifer, I forgot to mention, I also have the Recreation Department's vacancy for.
Recreation Commission?
For a commission, yes.
Actually, I think it's Gabby that's writing down the notes.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to item number 10.
So I needed some clarification. Can I elect a person to nominate the commissioners or not?
10 days, I think, she said.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question, Mr. Kim?
Yeah, it's certain the ordinance we have, we already placed the elected person as a commissioners. So can I name more elected person as commissioners?
That's going to have to be decided at a future meeting. As I mentioned, if the council wants to interpret this, you need to do that at a future meeting because we didn't have that as part of the agenda item tonight.
Okay.
So we can include that with January 8th.
Right. Okay. Yes.
I'm sorry. Clarification, Gabby. I did appoint Manny Hernandez on Recreation. And it is now...
Yes, he's on it.
Okay, but it's not, no, it says here differently.
There's a typo?
Well, it says vacant. And also Financial Advisory Board is no longer Arturo Encinas. It's stated here, it's Esther Gomez. Thank you.
In other words, it needs to be updated.
Yeah.
Okay. But besides that, you're okay?
Well, that's questionable.
Depends on what okay means. Okay, moving on. Item number 10, resolutions of the City of Calexico, City Council approving and adopting letters of intent to enter into memorandum of understanding for fiscal year 2012-2013 with the city's following 4 represented employee organizations. We're going to go one at a time. So the first resolution is A, with the Calexico Police Officers Association.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I just second. I believe we have some comments from our staff. Is that correct, Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes, the documents were given to you today as we were finalizing the documents and we're discussing the documents. The 4 unions that you have before you tonight have signed off on a tentative agreement. And so tonight we're ratifying those tentative agreements. What will happen is once you ratify, then we will actually put together a formal document called a memorandum of understanding, in which case the changes that we've agreed to will be incorporated into the existing MOUs that have expired. So all of the other terms and conditions will remain the same, and we will bring those final documents, the memorandums of understanding, to you within hopefully the next couple of months after we talk to the unions and make sure that they're okay with the changes we've agreed to that have been incorporated into those MOUs. We'll bring those back to you for final adoption in about 2 months, I hope. So tonight we're ratifying the tentative agreements by resolution.
Okay. Thank you. Any comments from legal by any chance before we go?
No.
Okay, back again to item A, resolution for the Calexico Police Officers Association. I believe I had a first from Mr. Moreno.
Second.
Okay, first and a second from Mr. Hodge. We'll go ahead and vote. Okay, approved, 5-0. Next is item B, the Calexico Firefighters Association, International Association of Firefighters, Local 1966.
So moved.
Second.
I have a first from Mr. Moreno, a second from Mr. Hodge. Please vote. Okay, passes 5-0. Next item is a resolution for the Calexico City Supervisors Association.
So moved.
Second.
I have a first from Mr. Hodge, a second from Mr. Moreno. Please vote. Gee, this is the way we need to go, nice and fast. Okay, passes 5-0. Next is item D, the resolution for the Certified Operators/Service Employees International Union Local 221.
So moved.
Second.
First by Mr. Hodge, second from Mr. Moreno. Please vote. Wow, that was quick.
Madam Chair, before you move on to your next item, I just want to take the time to thank the unions. I know there's some members of the unions that are present here tonight. I want to thank them for cooperating in some rough times that we're going through right now. And it's always difficult to move negotiations during this kind of climate when we have the economic circumstances that we have. So I certainly want to provide kudos to all the unions that we ratified tonight. It was a difficult dialogue that we had to have, but we had to have it. But I think during all of our negotiations, all of the unions have been very respectful. So I want to thank them for that, and I hope that we can continue the relationship that we have. Again, it's not easy to go to the bargaining table and say, I've got nothing to give, you've got to give me something. That's always difficult. I will hope that in the coming years, the economic times turn around and we can be at the bargaining table saying, we're going to give back some of the things that we've taken. Bless you.
Bless you.
So again, thank you to the unions that are present. Carry that forward to your members. I really respect the way we handle negotiations, and I hope that continues in the future, and we can continue to build our relationship. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you once again on behalf of the council as well. Okay, moving on then to item number 11 of our new business agenda is the Conflict of Interest Code adoption. Adoption of, and I'm going to start with item A resolution of the City Council of the City of Calexico, California, amending the Conflict of Interest Code and adopting through incorporation by reference the standard conflict of interest provisions of 2 California Code of Regulations, Section 18730. Any comments from legal?
Would you like me to make some brief comments? Sure. Okay. The reason this is coming to the council is that biannually, essentially even-numbered years, the city is supposed to perform a review to determine if they need to amend their conflict of interest code, and it needs to be done by the end of 2012. So the city staff has reviewed the conflict of interest code in conjunction with our office, and we made necessary changes. And so that's the first resolution. The second resolution is now that the redevelopment agency no longer exists, we have the resolution repeals the former conflict of interest code for redevelopment agency, and it adopts the oversight board's conflict code as well as the successor agency's conflict code. So now that you have these 2 new entities within the city, which has occurred in the last year, the city council needs to approve their conflict codes. There's not much out of the ordinary in terms of the revisions to the conflicts of interest code. It's just simply changing the titles because your city treasurer has now become your city treasurer finance director. Your public works director is also / city engineer. So they're pretty routine, and if you have any questions, I can try to answer them.
Okay.
If there's no questions, Madam Mayor, I move that we approve the first one.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, please vote. Okay, item passes 4-0. The next item under the item 11, Conflict of Interest Code adoption of, is item B, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Calexico, California, adopting a Conflict of Interest Code for the successor agency and oversight board for the Calexico Community Redevelopment Agency successor agency, and adopting through incorporation by reference the standard conflict of interest provisions of 2 California Code of Regulations, Section 18730, and repealing the former redevelopment agency conflict of interest code as set out in Resolution 10-131A.
Move for its approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a first from Mr. Moreno, second from Mr. Hodge. Please vote. Oops, sorry. Okay, passes 5-0, thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 12 is adopt resolution of the City Council of the City of Calexico authorizing the city manager or designee to enter into an agreement with AT&T Global Services to provide an update to the police department telephone and communications system.
This item comes to you, as you know, we're trying to upgrade our infrastructure throughout the city. It's been very difficult, obviously, because of the economic times. So when we have a chance to try to upgrade our infrastructure, then certainly we want to do that. The reason this is before you today, because obviously we do need to upgrade it, and we have the ability in this particular item to fund it through asset forfeiture funds. We'll give you a little bit of detail on it, and the chief and finance department have prepared this item, so I'll let the chief provide you with some details on it.
Since 1996, we've been using the same phone system in the PD. The problem is it at the time it was probably a pretty good system, but from 1996 to present, times have changed, and so has technology. We would like to upgrade to a system where each individual officer as well as employees have their own mailboxes, so citizens can call in, they can leave messages for particular employees so that they can have a better relationship with the public. In addition, we as Mr. Rodriguez had said, we would like to do is build the backroom infrastructure using our funds, which would alleviate a lot of the costs from the city in order to be able to hook into it, in order to have a city-wide system. So basically, we would take on the major part of the construction of it, and then the city would have the opportunity then to plug into it, and it would be a city-wide system at that point. We're looking at doing an IP-based system, which will obviously allow us a number of features which would allow us to have a better communication system. The other part of this is asking you to go sole source. Now, when we say sole source, we're asking it not to go out to bid, but to deal specifically with AT&T. Because of the communications equipment that we already have with the police department, we already have maintenance agreements with AT&T, and we want to be able to stay with them. In the past, where we've brought in other technology, the repairmen have to come from San Diego. Avaya, which provides the phone system that we have now, when our phone system goes down, we have to call San Diego and have a technician roll out to us. Whereas with AT&T, they have local technicians. They're the same technicians that work on our 911 system, so they're very, very familiar with our internal system. So by staying with them and using them as sole source, it would make it service-wise, it would be easier. Repair-wise and emergency-wise, they would be much closer to respond to us.
Just as information on that, as per our purchasing policy, there's a requirement that the department head justify that sole source, which you have in your backup, and then there's a requirement of the director of finance to go ahead and approve that as meeting all the requirements under the purchasing policy, which has been done.
I have questions. Is the communication means cellular phones and the radio too?
No, this is actually the telephone equipment.
Just inline, the landline
Correct, the
communication?
landline
Okay.
equipment.
Thank you.
If there are no questions, Mayor, I motion for its approval.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you. First by Mr. Moreno, second by Mr. Kim. Please vote. Are you okay, Ms. Moreno? Thank you. Passes 5-0. And I guess I can ask, how soon are you guys going to have that installed?
Actually, we've been working on this for like the last 6 months, so they're dying to go, so I imagine probably in January.
Okay, great. So January, you should have a whole new system, a whole new recording. Okay. Hopefully user-friendly.
I hope so too.
Okay, item number 13, discussion and/or action on approval of CCEZ resolution for expansion of the Calexico Enterprise Zone boundaries for Imperial Dairy Company, 1870 Jeffrey Road, Sealy, California, 125.29 acres, Assessor's parcel number 051020033-000. Imperial Dairy Company, 1870-A, Jeffrey Road, Sealy, California, 40 acres, Assessor's parcel number 051020032-000. And Imperial Dairy Company, 1870-B, Jeffrey Road, Sealy, California, 4 acres, Assessor's parcel number 05-020-031-000.
Madam Mayor, this item comes to you through the enterprise zone, which the city is a participant in. There is a 5-member board, which we participate in, and the city has 2 members. The IID has 1 member and the county has 2 members. and it's funded through the different agencies to the tune of $45,000, I believe, apiece at this time. And what it does, it provides certain benefits to businesses within the zone, if they're established within the zone, and we are allowed a 15% expansion of what we originally obtained through a process, a competitive process with the state. Yours truly serves as the chair of that committee, and Danny Fitzgerald is our manager, so he will provide that item today.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Fellow council members, the item before you, this is a procedural item. What it requires is the state statute for the expansion. It requires a process where first there's a submission to the staff, then approval by the JPA board, then by each governing body. This morning, this matter went before the County Board of Supervisors, and this evening it's before you. What this is regarding is KF Dairy, which is otherwise known as Coon Dairy, and the Imperial Valley Cheese Plant out in Sealy. Many of you have probably read in the newspaper that Coon Dairy, in essence, shut down. The cheese plant, in essence, also is looking to shut down as well. The parent company of the cheese plant is located in Logan, Utah, and this is their only facility that's of any distance from their facility, and so they were just planning on shutting it down. Fortunately, there have been a group of new investors, some local investors, but the primary is a gentleman that's out of Vancouver, Washington. He's invested in dairies in the Oregon, Washington area, and is now looking to be able to expand here into the Imperial Valley, and is looking to purchase this. One of the things that's going to facilitate some of the financing, which should close in probably towards the end of January, is the approval of this expansion, or in other words, inclusion into the enterprise zone, because there's quite a few significant financial benefits in terms of tax credits that they receive from the state of California and tax credits that finance companies receive by providing them loans. All these benefits are from the state of California. There are no funds from the city of Calexico or the county of Imperial that would go to the business. This is just allowing this business to take advantage of the program. As Mr. Rodriguez stated, when the enterprise zone was approved, there's an allowable expansion, and this is one of the purposes of that expansion. This was the intent of the statute that's at the state level, is for businesses that need to be retained and also that fit within the economic development strategy of the entire region. As Mr. Rodriguez stated, that this is, of course, an enterprise zone that's both in the county of Imperial and in the city of Calexico. The entire city of Calexico, its entire city limits, is within the enterprise zone, so there's obviously nowhere to expand. It's 100% included already, and so this is continued with the expansions that we've done in the past. The first was Ormat that came before this body. The second was the Barbara Worth Resort, and most recently was El Toro Land and Cattle. So if there are any questions, I'm here.
Are there any representatives from the dairy?
Unfortunately, they could not be here. Like I stated, he is from Vancouver, Washington. I do have a statement from him that he emailed me. And his name is Garrett Smith. And he said, on behalf of Stuart Smith, the Imperial Dairy Company, and dozens of workers associated with our efforts to integrate and optimize dairy operations in the Imperial Valley, thank you, the City of Calexico and Imperial County, for welcoming us with this win-win extension of the enterprise zone. Best holiday season regards, Garrett.
Thank you. Mr. Kim, you had a comment?
Yes. What kind of a benefit do we have to approve this one?
People that live in Calexico will be employed there.
Wait a minute. People of Calexico are going to be employed. They're going to be business coming in then?
There are people that live in Calexico will get jobs or keep their jobs at the cheese plant or at the dairy.
But it's not there. You said empty. So right now they vacated.
I'm sorry?
They vacated, but they're going to come new ones.
Yes, the dairy shut its operations down. People lost their job. The cheese plant, if this investment group did not come in, the cheese plant would have shut down, and those people would have lost their jobs.
So we declaring this enterprise zone to give them more benefit to coming in. So we can pursue to they can hire them back, or from the people from Calexico can be
exactly
hired the job.
Yes.
Okay. So the employment doesn't have to be necessary to by living in Calexico to get the tax credit. Or
Actually, yes, they
do.
do. Actually, yes, they do.
They have to.
Yes. In order to get the tax credit, the employees have to be what's called a targeted employment area, which is the city of Calexico and little bits of surrounding rural area around it.
So actually, city gets the benefit.
Yes.
Thank you.
I think that one of the questions that I heard during our briefings was in reference to the continuing expansion of the enterprise zone into the county area. We have taken that up at the board, and one of the things that we're working on is to try to put together a formula where there will be a guarantee of certain acreage to the city of Calexico when the city grows into its sphere, if it needs it. So there'll be some guarantee. I know some of the concern from some of the city was, well, what if the county uses up all the acreage? So we're going to be addressing that. As a chair, I've assigned 2 members of the board to go ahead and form a subcommittee to address that. So that should alleviate your fears, and I would certainly recommend that we move forward with this request.
There are no other questions, Madam Mayor. I motion for its approval.
Second, Madam Mayor.
Okay, gentlemen, let's go ahead and vote for its approval. Okay, thank you, 5-0. Last item on our agenda is informational items, and it's acknowledge receipt of business license delinquent list as of December the 5th, 2012. Do I hear a so acknowledged? Or are there any questions?
Okay, I have some
Would you like to
questions.
ask some questions? Sure.
Yes. First of all, I think I mentioned to the staff that the list, I believe that when what I'm understanding, the list include the people who's not really having business in Calexico, but they still have a business at the state level and probably the other cities. So they might be like seasonal, they're coming to Calexico to make the business and going back, and they saying they don't have a business. And I appreciate that was a step to try to collect the license at the early morning at the SWAT meet from the people coming in without that license. I believe I heard from our staff going early to do that diligently. But for the future, the list, if we can separate the list between the person who's really in the business in the Calexico and they are delinquents, and separating from theirs to they only named it, they're not doing the business. So that way we can see easily in this kind of list the people who is really not paying the delinquent. It's very hard to find out from there. And also we are trying to collect the pennies or the merchants, they might have some problem. If we find some way to deal with them to whatever they done, whatever the delinquent, we can give them some time frame to make the payments, but the future the license, they come up with the updating. So that way we can encourage them to pay updating their license, and whatever delinquents, we can give them some kind of payment plan to them, they can pay back to us.
I know that Mr. Quinn is ready to jump and maybe make a few comments, but I guess what I can add to the concerns that you have, Mr. Kim, is that Mr. Quinn is new on board here with us, and he's coming in with a lot of fresh, new ideas and a lot of energy, and that is an issue that is of high concern for all of us. I don't know if it would be worthwhile to maybe say a few things now that so I can see a few people already at the door wanting to go home, huh? Briefly, if you like. Or maybe just update us where you're at now.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. I'd just like to add a couple comments about the Financial Advisory Board. They worked on this business license issue for years. I don't know if he's gone, but long before I got here, that board worked on many aspects of the business license, and they made a lot of recommendations to the council. Excuse me, I'm not sure if any of those recommendations were approved or not, but I think we need to resurrect some of those because they do definitely pertain to some of the questions that Councilmember Kim is bringing up. And in addition to that, I think the last couple of meetings we had with the board, we were looking very seriously at perhaps even getting to the point where we could repeal the existing business license ordinance and streamline it. It really needs to have some serious amendment, so.
Thank you, Mr. Quinn. I know that several of us on the council, actually all of the council is highly concerned about this issue, and it's been an issue for a while, so I believe that what you just said now is probably one of the most important parts, is resurrecting our finance committee. And now that we're going to have some new members in that committee and have them work really hard, because we do need to resolve that and set a policy, what it is and how it is going to be working from here on in.
We need to determine what those recommendations are again and whether we have approved them or not. And so either it can be done in writing or maybe an oral presentation by the Financial Advisory Board. But Mr. Kim's point well taken about a payment plan. Have we initiated anything like that at this point in time, working with merchants?
To my knowledge, in my time here, my short time here, I've not experienced any on the business license, and I'm not sure that it's been done in the past.
And that must be something that the Finance Review Committee is going to be addressing as well, or make sure that that's addressed.
Okay, my point is just like whatever done, whatever have delinquent, they might have issues, economic issues, or they might the habit not to pay. But whatever reason we cannot choosing people, why we just setting that one like a delinquent the account as a collection status, which is we give them the chance to make the payment plan for the maybe once a month, whatever little money, make the payment plan for the future. The newer the city license, they has to be updated, in condition updated. If they not agree, then we have to use our way to close down the business, because they don't want to be paid the license. City council has to make some final decisions to determining this one.
Obviously, it's a very important subject to revisit, so I believe that all of us as council members should have a discussion with our appointees and ask them to put their efforts back in there once again and work with you, of course.
Madam Mayor, next month when we bring the business license delinquency list, we will take Councilman Hodges' suggestion and bring back, just for a refresher, some of the items that were discussed with the Financial Advisory Board.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Being that this is an informational item, do we acknowledge receipt?
Acknowledge receipt, yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Madam Mayor, before you adjourn, I do have an item.
Yes, go ahead.
Should I move?
I'm sorry?
Can I have one item before you adjourn?
Yes,
Okay, I just want to make sure that everybody received a letter that stated November 26, 2012, we put in your packet from the California State Controller's Office. I know you've been waiting to see this, and obviously we're happy to present it to you. This is a letter that came from the State Controller's Office regarding our single audit that we submitted, that we had some issues with. And in the document itself, the State Controller now clears us so that now we don't have any problem with any of our grants. Remember, we had a problem with our grants and being able to request additional monies. Well, this letter now, and I'll read you just the last paragraph. It says, your audit satisfies all financial and compliance audit requirements under individual federal award programs. This does not preclude state and federal agencies from making any additional audits that are necessary to carry out the responsibilities of federal laws and regulations. State and federal agencies may contact you to arrange additional audits. But for the time being, we are cleared now. We can apply for additional grants. And the deadline for this year's is March 31st. We are targeting to get that in February so that we will be way ahead of the game and we don't experience the same thing that we did last year.
We'll hold them to that, right? Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Thank you very much.
Can they put in this one letter on the website? The public can know about the information?
Can we put it on the website? Sure.
Okay. The only thing that I wanted to make sure that we understood before we adjourned is when is our next meeting?
The 8th.
January the 8th. It's going to be a little different for January. January the 8th, and then
And the
the
22nd.
second would be for the 22nd of
And
January.
then when we go to February, we're back on our track on the regular meetings.
Okay, this meeting is adjourned.